It's crazy to think that we've already had confirmation as to what the next Slayer is going to be. And by the sounds of it, it seems pretty different and strange, even maybe more strange than the way that Vampire Slayer is in the Rift. Now, if somehow you don't know what I'm referring to, there was a Skyblock patch a few days ago, well, probably longer than a few days ago when you're watching this video. Now, this patch outlined a lot of different changes, including adding a lot of the foraging and hunting items into the museum finally. Changes to foraging and changes to hunting, different mob types introduced. A lot of cool things. If we scroll right the way to the bottom, we have here this tab that says Guardian Slayer, which is very interesting. And it reads, we previously announced we were working on new Slayers, and now feel comfortable sharing the identity of a new fishing-based one. Guardian Slayer takes place on a dedicated island accessible via the ship navigator, where players can fish up the island's exclusive sea creatures and kill them until the boss spawns. Now, all of those fishermen and fisherwomen out there must be shivering in the timbers. This sounds really cool, It's like any other Slayer where you've just got to go around and kill mobs. You've got to fish the mobs up and then kill them. That's really cool. Something different. Very nice. Since the boss has an island all to itself and cannot be spawned there, it has allowed us to tie some really cool map mechanics into the boss abilities, which we're excited for you to see soon. Very cool. Guardian Slayer will have to release after Locust Atoll, on account of it relying upon some new systems introduced by the Atoll. However, both updates are currently deep into development. It sounds really cool, It sounds really cool. Finally, after the foraging update has dropped, they can move on and start focusing their efforts on pretty much everything else. Nice. But we're not really here to talk about, how good this update could be, because we don't really know. We're going to be talking about how you should prepare for this update, because there's certain things that you can do based on speculation. And we'll get to those in just a moment. But just before we do, if you are planning on purchasing anything from the Hypixel store, make sure to use code NITROS. It gets yourself 5% off. You can also join the Discord server. It's linked in the description of this video. We offer Slayers and Dungeon carries, so if you need carries or want to carry, make some coins, make sure to join. Also, if you've not already, make sure to subscribe to the channel. So what can you do to prepare for this update? Well, if you look at the Guardian Slayer head-on, I'm guessing the boss is a Guardian. I know, crazy assumption, right? And we know there's already a Guardian pet. However, what I will say is this is an enchanting pet. It's not a fishing pet. It's not a combat pet. So whether this will have any ties to the Guardian Slayer update, I'm not 100% sure. Maybe it changes and maybe it does. Maybe this is the first pet we ever see to have a divine rarity and it's something different. I doubt that's going to happen though. And to be honest, if we take a look at the prices of level 100 mythic Guardian pets over the last week, it's up and down, but there hasn't been any real upwards trend, meaning that most people probably have the assumption that, well, we're not probably going to have anything to do with this pet in this Guardian Slayer update, otherwise I would assume it would have probably shot up. If anything, it's kind of gone slightly down in price. Now, staying on the theme of Guardians, if we take a look at the Guardian sea creature that already exists in the game, we could maybe take a look at the items that it drops and see if they could potentially go up in price. However, the only real proper drop that it actually drops that you'd really want is an aquamarine dye, and everything else is free, so maybe that's not the case either. Which is interesting because we've already written off anything that's already pre-existing in the game related to Guardians. However, in this case, I feel like it makes more sense for fishing related items to go up in price because of the influx in people fishing. Now, when you were previously doing Slayers, spawning the Slayer was a big part of it. Therefore, if you wanted to be efficient, you need to spawn the bosses efficiently. And to be able to spawn these bosses efficiently with the new Guardian Slayer, you're going to need to fish up mobs. Now, if you can't fish efficiently, then you're not going to be able to do the Slayer efficiently. Which means that in your preparations, not only do you probably want to get, a higher fishing level if you have maybe a lower fishing level, and make sure that you can hit 300 fishing speed in water with 100 sea creature chance at the same time. Maybe for someone looking to maybe looking for an investment or maybe to make some money, I think fishing related items in general are probably going to be a relatively safe bet. Now, obviously there's going to be new pets that are released, but things like ammonite pets are going to be pretty useful, especially for those people struggling to actually increase the fishing stats, because it is a pretty good pet for fishing. Gives you a decent amount of sea creature chance, a bit of double hook, and also can give you some fishing speed. On the flip side, this pet, it already is really, really cheap, and it's also really, really easy to level. Probably one of the easiest pets to level. Now, it's hard to say exactly, because there obviously is probably going to be maybe a new pet introduced, probably some new armor, of course I'm sure a new Slayer related weapon. But unless Hypixel include completely unrelated items, maybe just general fishing related items into the craft recipes for these new items, then they're probably gonna basically have these craftable with the new items that they introduce, which means it's pretty difficult at this point to kind of invest in anything. Items like burnt text are going to be useful when this update does drop. It gives you double hook chance and fishing speed. You know, double hook chance is going to be really useful because that means that you're going to be able to spawn bosses quicker. Those people who have a lot of money to spend, you'd probably struggle to get one right now anyway, but the giant rod would probably be a big play. This is going to give you quite a lot of double hook chance. No giant rods have sold in the past 9 days. The last one that was sold was 3.8 billion. But I would assume if one was to sell now, it would probably be more expensive due to this speculation on the Guardian update, or the Guardian Slayer, should I say. Now, even though, like, a while ago, the giant rod was nerfed, 20 double hook chance is quite a lot of double hook chance to get from one item. That's why it's so good and so expensive. Obviously, it comes from Shen's auction. However, you know, the price means that it is reserved for those people with a lot of money to spend. Now, it's also, I mean, in my opinion, I feel like it seems pretty straightforward that there's some sort of new bait introduced that increases the chances of catching Slayer-related mobs or something along those lines, because we don't really have anything like that at the moment. All in all, I think it's pretty safe to say that if you're trying to prepare yourself to actually be able to go ahead and do the update, I feel like it's pretty apparent that you need to try and get as good fishing stats as you possibly can and try to hit that 100 sea creature chance and 300 fishing speed before the update drops, so you're already prepared and don't have to think about it once it drops. And if you're looking to invest and maybe make some money, fishing related armor is obviously going to be a good bet, because most people are going to either want that fishing armor to actually fish so they can get the fishing level up to get better stats, or they're going to want it when the update drops to be able to fish the mobs up. However, I do assume there's probably some sort of new hybrid armor that comes out between fishing and combat. Fishing related pets are also going to be surely useful, whether it's for people actually doing the update or just, like I said, increasing the stats before. Unfortunately, it's going to be pretty general. Most things fishing related are going to be a decent bet. I'd say one thing to keep in mind is it's always going to be useful to have glowing mush mixing active when fishing. It just gives you a free 30 fishing speed, you know, coupled with your god pot. And with the decent alchemy level, that's going to last for 72 hours. Now, 1 million coins might seem cheap for that period of time. And to be honest, it is relatively cheap unless you want to go to the effort of getting some full chum buckets and glowing mushroom and trading them to Moby. Now, obviously, the earlier you start to invest or prepare, the better. And even though it does say that this Slayer is pretty far into development, it looks like there's going to be a few T's that have to be crossed and a few I's that have to be dotted before this actually releases. So I wouldn't be in too much of a rush. Having said that, the prospect of a new Slayer is really cool and exciting. Anyway, after all, I gotta say, I'm pretty excited for this new Slayer. It will be very different, of course, because you've got to fish up the mobs. I think that's really cool. Completely different, and sounds like they've put a lot of work into it, lots gone into it. So it should be good to see what happens in the end. Let me know in the comments if you're looking forward to it too. I feel like most people probably should be. However, if you don't like fishing, yeah. Anyway, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.